rotel to warm enough so it easily melts the cheese. But while the meat's browning, this is an important lasagna trick. If I just put crunchy noodles into the oven with this stuff, I'm going to get crunchy, raw, uncooked noodle. So what we want to do, about the time it takes for all this to cook, basically what I want to do is just put my noodles in water and let them soak for a little while. And as we're cooking, these guys will soak and they'll get spongy and soft. Apparently I need more water in this bowl, or a bigger bowl. But they'll soak and then they'll become soft, and then when we use it and cook it, they'll actually be just right. So I'm going to put them in this bowl and just let them soak for a little while we're waiting for the meat to cook. Yeah, if you try to do it without pre-soaking your noodles, you're going to end up with some crunchy, not awesome lasagna. I mean, it's the same for regular lasagna or lasagna, either way. Either way, I want my noodles to be squishy and bendable and pliable. They're not all the way in the water, so as we're cooking, I'll end up like floating and flipping them around and rotating them just to make sure that they get enough time to really soak in the water. Because we want our noodles to be pliable. Now, I'm going to stir in my rotel a little bit. It looks warm enough for queso. And then my giant chunk of meat over here. I need to stir in the pork and the beef. And you want to chop it up because we don't want big chunks. You know, it's ground beef and ground pork. We want a nice ground mix there. And since it's bigger than the bottom of the pan and kind of tall, we can put a lid on this and it'll cook quicker. So I'm going to do that just because I don't want to stay up all night trying to make this. Boom, we got a lid. And then, you know, we're doing some lasagna, so we should have some seasonings. Paprika sounds good. Tony's is good in everything. So we'll do some paprika. We'll do some cayenne. We'll do some Tony's. A little bit of pepper never hurt anyone. Tony's already has salt in it. That's one of the main ingredients. So we don't need to put salt. If you put Tony's in, you don't need to salt your dish. So we're not going to put any salt in there. Plus I like enough salt that no one would eat it if I actually salted it the way I like it. So Tony's is salty enough. Plus it's queso, beef, salsa, whatever I do. Alright, you can pause this. That's all the action for now. You're recording, like, give me a... Okay. Alright, so my rotel and butter combo over there is warmed up. So it's time to throw in the queso. I like the HEB stuff as much as Velveeta, but I have to say Velveeta does make it easier to open the box. Is that an important part? Well, I don't know. Yeah, basically as soon as my rotel starts looking hot over there, it's hot enough to melt cheese. And if it's hot enough to melt cheese, it's time to have cheese in it. So I'm just going to chop it up into chunks, toss them in. Honestly, my meat's going to take quite a bit more time than my queso. But, you know, the main point of the lasagna is that we are replacing a lot of the Italian ingredients. You know, we're not using mozzarella, and we're not using ricotta, and we're not using tomato sauce. We are using salsa and queso. So, you gotta have queso. And apparently, my part-time weekend job. I worked at a place where they had catering. A whole ton of leftover Mexican food. So I actually have like maybe a gallon of salsa in the fridge. So it's actually the right time to be doing this particular recipe. Alright, that's good. You can stop it. Yeah. Alright, so you gotta keep stirring everything. We don't want our queso burnt. And now we gotta get up in here and stir our meat stuff around. We want it good and mixed up. We didn't record it earlier, but I threw the paprika and the cayenne and the Tony's and the black pepper in here. So when I do this, I give it a stir, but I also just kind of chop down with the spatula because I don't want big chunks. You know, we want it to be mixed up real nice once we get our lasagna going. So I'm just gonna like give it a twirl, chop it around. Give it a twirl, chop around, and like I said, it's not all touching the bottom, so I want to use a lid so it actually all heats up. Alright, so my queso's done, my meat is not. Also, on a side note, I really like this song. This is Dos Gardenias. It's already recording, so there you go. Alright, we've handed off to our guest cameraman. Alright, so we turned off the heat for the queso because the queso is already done. It's a basic queso. I didn't put the meat in it. It's not the Super Bowl queso that's like also on my little cooking channel. So I'm stirring this stuff up. Just give it a twirl and a mix. Give it a chop. Give it a chop. Give it a chop. Chop, chop. Chop, chop. Twirl. Twirl, twirl. Chop, chop, chop. Chop, chop, chop. Starting to get some solid meat juices in here. That's always a good, happy sign. Alright, so I'm going to chop it all down. Put the lid back on it. Alright, that's good. You can pause. Alright, so we're starting to get some good meat juice action. The meat juice is actually coming up pretty high. And as far as our noodles go, the noodles are soft enough that they actually are allowing the rest of the noodles to be in. I've been flipping the noodles the whole time, but now they're getting soft enough that they've got some bend to them. You know, I'm not trying to break them. They just got a little bend to them. By the time my meat's done, these noodles ought to be soft enough for me to actually do what I do. And earlier I said something about Dos Gardenias. You are not allowed to talk in the house. My wife was told that we're filming, and she still walked in the house talking. So anyway, the noodles, they're getting soft. They're not all the way soft. They still got some hardness to them. And then earlier I said something about Dos Gardenias, but it was actually Para Madrid. So I apologize for misquoting the thing. And my assistant cameraman really wants to operate the camera, so assistant cameraman. Oh, assistant cameraman is on the job. He's got it. All right. We're gonna have to do some chop, some twist, some flip. Our meat's starting to look mostly brown, but I still see pinkness in it, and it's ground meat, so I don't want pinkness in my ground meat. Pinkness in your ground meat. Nobody wants a tapeworm. Tapeworms aren't any fun. So we want our ground meat to be not pink. But, you know, we're getting there. It's getting pretty close. Alright, so twist, flip, turn, chop. Twist, flip, turn, chop. Twist, flip, turn, chop. Twist, flip, turn, chop. Chop, chop, choppa. Alright, chopped all that. I'm going to put the lid back on. My queso is still just sitting there. It's already done. It's ready.